Welcome to First United Methodist Church and our online worship service. If this is the first time you're joining us, please go to the description below. There's some form you can fill out so we can know more about you and we can let you know all the things that are happening here. Also, if this is your first time on our YouTube channel, we have all kinds of content, including our prayer request thing that happens every Wednesday. You can see Pastor Keith read the prayer request and have a time of prayer there. But again, wherever you are, whenever you are,
A reading from the Gospel of John, chapter 13, verses 21 through 30. Jesus foretells his betrayal. After saying this, Jesus was troubled in spirit and declared, "Very truly I tell you, one of you will betray me." The disciples looked at one another, uncertain of whom he was speaking. One of his disciples, the one whom Jesus loved, was reclining next to him. Simon Peter therefore motioned to him to ask Jesus of whom he was speaking. So while reclining next to Jesus, he asked him, "Lord, who is it?" Jesus answered, "It is the one to whom I give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish." So when he had dipped the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas, son of Simon Iscariot. After he had received the piece of bread, Satan entered into him. Jesus said to him, "Do quickly what you are going to do." Now no one at the table knew why he said this to him. Some thought that because Judas had the common purse, Jesus was telling him, "Buy what we need for the festival," or that he should give something to the poor. So after receiving the piece of bread, he immediately went out. And it was night. Here ends the reading of the Word of God for us, the people of God. Thanks be to God.
We were on an island off the east coast of Thailand, and we got on the boat at the dive shop. And it was about an hour and a half boat ride to the dive site. And there was this French couple that was sitting across from us, and I noticed that they just had these really cool T-shirts. And on the logo, across the top of the circle, there was this question, "Who's afraid of the big bad wolf?" And across the bottom, it said the Wolf Rock Dive Center in Queensland, Australia. In the middle of the circle, the logo, was what appeared to be a great white shark. And so I said to them, I was like, "Man, I love y'all's T-shirt. Did you guys go diving in Australia?" And they were like, "Oh, yeah." And evidently, this Wolf Rock is a huge gathering place for the gray nurse shark. And they're like, "You want to see a video?" And I'm like, "I would love to see a video." And so they scrolled and they found it, and I saw a video of their dive, and the water was dark and murky, and the sharks were just huge. And they had these menacing teeth and sullen eyes, and I don't know, I guess in response to my wide eyes, they were like, "Oh, like the sharks are friendly." All right. So our boat arrived at our destination, and I was surprised that I had a choice. There were two dive options, and so our dive instructor said, one of them was in the shallows. It was called Twin Peaks. These coral reefs in the shallow waters, said it's probably one of the most famous in the world. He said, or we can do a shipwreck. And he kind of leaned in a whisper, in a tone that was like it was some kind of conspiracy. And he said, "We'll have to go a little deeper than you guys are allowed to go." Sounds great to me. I'm in. Let's do it. So we we jump in the water and we descend down into the deep to this shipwreck. I mean, that ship was so cool. It was a fast attack craft that had served for decades in the Royal Thai Navy. And so on the bow of the ship, of course, we're just seeing all the fishes and life that was down there. But we're swimming across the bow of the ship, and there's this hole, and it's about big enough for a diver to go into, and I'm just hovering over this big hole, looking down into the massive hull of this ship, and it was dark and it was alluring. But you have to have special training for that. I'm not certified for such things. So it was forbidden. Jesus and his disciples were reclining at the table when he said it. It was an intimate moment, a moment that they had shared times before. One of you will betray me. And I imagine you could probably feel the air just suck out of the room. You could sense or feel the shadow fall. Jesus breaks the bread. He dips it into salt water or Passover sauce, and then he gives it to Judas. Judas receives the bread, and immediately he goes out into the night. Luke says that it was night. John, I mean. So I settled into my seat. I was in the aisle because it was a long flight to Bangkok. And I started reading Barbara Brown Taylor's book, Learning to Walk in the Dark. Come inside now, she writes. Come inside, kids, it's getting dark. That's what her mother would always say every night when her mom looked out the kitchen window and saw that the sun was going down. The cicadas were starting to scream. The bats were starting to swoop. And, she says her mom loved them enough to call them inside so that nothing bad would happen to them in the dark. It's really a curious book. She writes about her attempt to push through the mystery and the fear of the dark. She writes about her attempt to discover it, even to befriend it. I've used a quote from the book before, which is why I was curious and why I wanted to read the book. But she says, and I've shared, I have learned things in the dark that I could never have learned in the light, things that have saved my life over and over again. Resurrection is always announced with Easter lilies, the sound of trumpets, bright streaming light. But it did not happen that way if it happened in a cave. It happened in complete silence, in absolute darkness, with the smell of damp stone and dug earth. New life starts in the dark, whether it is a seed in the ground, a baby in the womb, or Jesus in the tomb. It starts in the dark. Now, she points out that Christianity has never had nice things to say about darkness. Darkness is a synonym for sin, for ignorance, for spiritual blindness, even for death. So how often do we say, I'm in a dark place, and mean it for something that's good? I'm in a dark place. We say, I'm in a dark place when I've lost my job, when my marriage is in trouble, when my child seems lost. I'm in a dark place with my chronic illness, with my debilitating pain. A shadow falls over my heart when we think about or talk about Gaza, Ukraine, Myanmar. I am in a dark place with unanswered prayer, a crisis of faith, an encounter with Scripture that just has me roiled, betrayal. We venture into forbidden places, and we carry the scars. I imagine in a hole this size, there are some open wounds still. The Gospels don't tell us very much about Judas. Most of what we know is negative, There is not a Saint Judas Iscariot. We don't name our churches after him. He's Christianity's villain. For 30 pieces of silver, he betrays Jesus in the darkness with a kiss. John says he was a thief, that he would steal from the common purse. But he was the treasurer. That's a big deal. They trusted him to be the money guy. And probably most important, he was an apostle. Jesus chose him. It's clear from reflecting on our text for today that Jesus loved him. We don't really know who he was. Scholars think that Iscariot refers to a town called Kerioth, but there's no reliable records of where this town is or was. Iscariot is possibly a reference, they say, to the Sicarii, which was a group of assassins among the Jewish rebels. That's the one that I've heard most. Jesus was a revolutionary. He was a lover of God who hated Rome, who wanted God's kingdom to come. So what was his motivation? Maybe it was there. Why did he do what he did when he went out into the night? What dance was he dancing out there in the dark? One thing that we do know, that whatever dream Judas was dreaming, it quickly became a nightmare. It went horribly wrong. So, this island, maybe Thailand in general, it was known for its night markets. And Chan and I aren't really night people, so we went a little bit early to the night market. And most of the shops and things were open. So after we walked around for a while, we had a little bit of time to kill, and because the market didn't start till like at 6 o'clock. And we found a nice place for lunch that didn't mind us just chilling out for a while. Chan says, hey, we should get a pedicure. And I'm like, okay. So I had my very first pedicure ever in my life. It was so awesome. I took a picture of my feet and sent it to the kids. There was silence from them, so I don't know what they thought of that. And that's when the earthquake texts started coming from our kids. Are you guys all right? Did you guys feel it? They were worried and afraid. We had no idea what they were talking about. We're looking around at everybody. Nobody seemed a bit concerned, and so we asked a girl in the market, did she know anything about an earthquake in Myanmar and in Bangkok? And there was a little bit of a language barrier, but finally she figured out what we were asking. I was like, oh yeah, and there's going to be another one maybe at 3 in the morning. So later I'm like, did she say there's going to be another one at 3 in the morning? And there was this strange shadow of fear that overcame us. We didn't feel the earthquake. I've seen the movies. I know about tsunamis. And we were staying in a little place on the beach. And so we get back to our our room. We go to the desk in this little resort, and we're asking the girl at the desk, like, is there an alarm system? Is there a signal? Did you know that there's going to be something else at 3 o'clock in the morning, like in the middle of the night? And she kind of looked at us like we were from a different planet. She didn't know anything about an alarm system. I'm like, surely they've got an alarm system. So we go to our room, afraid. And I said to Chan, I'm going to make a go bag. And I get my backpack, my carry-on, and I start putting things in it, our passports, our phones, a change of clothes, some clean underwear, my laptop computer, and she, Chan just says, seriously? She puts her running shoes by the door and she says, this is all that I need. I am going to be running for my life while you die with that backpack. And it seems a little funny right now, but we weren't laughing at the time. We were really afraid of what was coming in the middle of the night. I mean, I still thought the go bag was a good idea, so I packed it up. And I put it by the door next to my running shoes. I mean, I don't think we can do it on our own. We need help getting through the darkness. It's interesting to me when I think about the characters in this story, the story of Jesus' life, certainly the disciples, but it's particularly Judas and Peter, the things that they have in common. To be honest, I haven't given a whole lot of thought to Judas and his life other than his villainy. But it's interesting to me that Jesus calls them both the devil, kind of. He's speaking to Judas, and he's speaking about Judas in another part of John's gospel, and he says, did I not choose you? Jesus is talking to the whole group. Did I not choose you, the 12? Yet one of you is a devil. Calls him a devil. But Peter, too, Peter actually pulls Jesus aside and rebukes Jesus when Jesus starts telling them about what's going to happen to him. He's prophesying that he's going to be arrested and that he's going to be killed. And Peter rebukes him. And that's when Jesus calls him Satan. Get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me. As I think about both of them, Jesus also sends them into the darkness. In some sense, it's a mystery. To Peter, when Jesus is asking about his identity and who do people say that I am, and Peter responds pretty accurately, Jesus says, "You're the rock. You're gonna be the foundation of the church." And he says, "You and the church, the very gates of hell will not prevail against you." It's just sending into the darkness of hell. And Jesus sends Judas into the night. In our text, he says, do quickly what you're going to do. He sends him. Tells him to go. Another thing that they have in common is that they both failed miserably. Matthew tells us that after Judas's betrayal, he goes back to the temple to return the 30 pieces of silver that he was paid to betray Jesus. Peter denies Jesus 3 times, abandons Jesus, leaves Jesus alone. And the morning after Peter had denied him, and after Peter had spent the entire night in agonized weeping, Judas hanged himself. The most important thing, in my opinion, that they shared in common is that Jesus loved them both. Jesus forgave them both. Forgiveness was there for both of them. And we know the stories that come after Easter. We know the encounters over a charcoal fire. We know that Peter realized Jesus' love and Jesus' forgiveness, his restoration, his healing. Maybe the biggest difference between them is that Judas was alone. And he couldn't make it. He couldn't dance in the dark. The song, the hymn, the Lord of the Dance, the refrain is this invitation to dance. Dance wherever you may be. And that jumped out at me as I sat with that verse, or with the refrain. I highlighted it, circled it, underlined it. Wherever you may be. Whatever your situation, whatever your heart condition, whatever your grief, whatever the shadows, in addition to the things that make you really want to dance, the joys, the celebrations, the hopes, the dreams. The Lord of the dance, I will lead you all wherever you may be. All of you, Jesus says. I'll lead you all in the dance. And that's been one of my questions through this. Like, what is the dance? I'm the Lord of the dance, the song sings. Well, I figure it's at least two things. The invitation to dance is an invitation to intimacy and love. It's an invitation to the table where they were reclined, where Jesus breaks the bread, where Jesus honors Judas as a beloved friend. The invitation is also to dance God's love dance out there in the dark places of the world. We come to the table today. Ed Farrell had a conversation with a Hindu once when he was in India. The man said to him, I know Christians. They are the people who swallow God. The Lord of the dance. A dance which becomes synonymous with who we are. The people who swallow God. The people who dance with God. The people who dance together. Let us dance together today. Amen.
Oh, I have days and lose the fight, but try my best, but just don't get it right. Where I talk a talk that I don't walk, miss the moments right before my eyes. Somebody with a hurt that I could have helped, somebody with a hand that I could have held, when I just can't see past myself. Lord, help me be a little more like mercy, a little more like grace, a little more like kindness, goodness, love and faith, a little more like patience, little more like peace, little more like Jesus, little less like me. Yeah, there's no denying I have changed. I've been saved from who I used to be. But even at my best, I must confess, I still need help to see the way you see. Somebody with a hurt that I could have helped, somebody with a hand that could have helped. And I just can't see past myself. Lord, help me be little more like mercy, little more like grace, little more like kindness, goodness, love and faith, little more like patience, little more like peace, little more like Jesus, little less like me. You're to feed the beggar on the street, love to be your hands and feet, freely give what I receive. Lord, help me be. I want to put you first above all else, love my neighbor as myself. In the moments no one sees, Lord, help me be. Little more like mercy, little more like grace, little more like kindness, goodness, love and faith, little more like patience, little more like peace, little more like Jesus, little less like me. Little more I'm giving, everything I reach, little more like Jesus, little less like me. Oh, little less like me.